Hello. Welcome to Mad Dodge Productions. I am the Mad Libertarian. So, had something I want to talk about today. So I wanted to do a video about baseball today, or maybe the 100-year anniversary of World War I. But instead, we could have just started World War III. I find it ironic that Trump decided to intervene once again in the damn Middle East, only a day after the 100-year anniversary of the start of World War I. It is my belief the parallels between the Roman and the American empires is quite clear, both being born a republic and both ignoring their beginnings, being embroiled in a constant warfare. Quite troubling is how fast America forgot how it was founded. The fact that most Americans believe we are a democracy when in fact we are a constitutional republic, or at least we were. We are in fact an empire in all but name. With our entangling alliance, our so-called strategic goals, and the constant meddling in the affairs of others. Which brings us back to this.
On Tuesday, Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad launched a horrible chemical weapons attack on innocent civilians. Using a deadly nerve agent, Assad choked out the lives of helpless men, women, and children. It was a slow and brutal death for so many. Even beautiful babies were cruelly murdered in this very barbaric attack. No child of God should ever suffer such horror. Tonight I ordered a targeted military strike on the airfield in Syria from where the chemical attack was launched. It is in this vital national security interest of the United States to prevent and deter the spread and use of deadly chemical weapons. There can be no dispute that Syria used banned chemical weapons, violated its obligations under the Chemical Weapons Convention, and ignored the urging of the UN Security Council. Years of previous attempts at changing Assad's behavior have all failed, and failed very dramatically. As a result, the refugee crisis continues to deepen, and the region continues to destabilize, threatening the United States and its allies. Tonight I call on all civilized nations to join us in seeking to end the slaughter and bloodshed in Syria, and also to end terrorism of all kinds and all types. We ask for God's wisdom as we face the challenge of our very troubled world. We pray for the lives of the wounded and for the souls of those who have passed. And we hope that as long as America stands for justice, then peace and harmony will, in the end, prevail. Good night, and God bless America and the entire world. Thank you.
Well, that was something. And I thought Hillary Clinton was the one that would bring us into World War III. I'm dumbfounded. Why are we over by Syria? Why are we even messing with this? I put a clip up of Clayton Kershaw here, a picture. And, yeah, that's what I'd rather be talking about right now is baseball. Opening day was the other day, or maybe some history. Maybe some World War I. But no, here we are once again, being fed the propaganda that we must do something because of the children. How many? So I saw on Twitter that the Associated Press just about 10-15 minutes ago put out that 6 people died in Syria in that airstrike. 6 civilians. Now, may I point out, how much does each of those missiles, those 60 missiles, cost? A lot. And they only killed 6 fucking people? Fucking shameful. Sorry about the language. I've been trying to cut that out. That's only 2 F-bombs in this video. So this is going back to circa 2015 or 2014. The last clip I'm going to show you is Rand Paul talking about Obama's war that he wanted in Syria. And I believe that what he had to say then is as true as it was then now. I am the Mad Libertarian, and I'm going to roll this clip and sign out. Thank you very much. I'm up to 58 subscribers. I appreciate it. I'd like to give a shout out to the RTC Alliance. I do stand for free speech, just as you. And, yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. I'm going to roll the clip and sign out. Good night, and good luck.
Well, the British aren't coming. Prime Minister David Cameron going to his parliament and getting voted down. His members of parliament saying they do not want Great Britain to be involved in the conflict with Syria. Some lawmakers want President Obama to do the same thing, to go to Congress and ask their permission as the Constitution requires. Here on what course of action he believes the U.S. ought to take is Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, who joins us live this morning. Senator, thanks a lot for joining us. What can you sum up what the point of this apparently imminent attack on Syria is? What's our objective here?
Well, that's the real question. I think we have no strategic objective. I don't think it'll change the course of the war. And in fact, one of the things that troubles me is that we've already announced in advance, well, it's not going to be too much of an attack, it's not going to last too long, and we're not for regime change. I've had conversations with the administration both publicly and privately, and this sounds like what their objective is. Their objective is stalemate. And I've told them, frankly, I'm not sending my son, your son, or anyone else's son to fight if your goal or your objective is stalemate. That's not what Americans are about.
So the idea is that the president gave his word that there was this red line. He described the use of weapons of mass destruction. Syria apparently has crossed that line, and so we need to act. Is that the rationale?
It sounds to me like saving face because he's made a promise, so he's going to follow through with his promise. That's why you ought to be very careful about drawing lines in the sand or red lines, because now he feels that he looks weak to both his colleagues in the United States as well as his international colleagues. But I don't think that's enough reason to go to war. The Constitution is very explicit on this. When you go to war, Congress must authorize this. Both the president and the vice president, once upon a time, before they became in power, understood this. As a senator, Barack Obama said that no president should unilaterally go to war without the authority of Congress. I still believe that. It's one of the things that I liked about the president when he ran. Of course, I didn't vote for the president, but there were a few things I liked, and that was one of them. And he seems to have forgotten that now, and I think that's disappointing.
So it seems like this former constitutional law professor will just ignore that constitutional requirement and move without approval from Congress. Is Congress going to put up with that? What exactly can the Congress do if the president does that?
We shouldn't, and we could come back into session on our own, and we could send a rebuke and a restraining order to him. The British Parliament has, and they seem to be obeying their separation of powers. You know, the Vice President, Joe Biden, was very specific on this, too. Both the President and the Vice President were outspoken and talked about the separation of powers and why this sort of allows emotions to cool and often keeps us from going into war.
Right.
You know, 80% of the American people want